Did you know that 60% of small businesses close within 6 months of a cyber attack? With ransomware, phishing, and account takeovers on the rise, security cannot be an afterthought.
Welcome to Perimeter Perspective, the podcast that helps businesses navigate the ever-changing world of cybersecurity to stay secure and thrive in the digital age.
I'm Alyssa Birchfield, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Moore. Together, we represent Next Perimeter, a cloud-first cybersecurity and IT services firm dedicated to helping businesses simplify security, reduce risk, and stay ahead of evolving threats.
Today, we're breaking down MXDR, how it detects and stops threats before they escalate, and why SMBs need a proactive, all-in-one security approach.
As many people know, I work on the marketing operations side here at Next Perimeter, but I'm always curious to know more about how all of these IT solutions actually work for our clients. So today, I'll be asking Michael the tough questions to keep this conversation grounded for our listeners.
Absolutely, Alyssa. And let's start with the reality that many small and mid-sized businesses are facing right now. If you're running a business today, chances are you have a hybrid work environment. Employees logging in from multiple locations, using a mix of SaaS tools and corporate devices. The challenge? Protecting all of it, your network, devices, identities, and data, without stretching your IT team too thin or blowing up your budget.
That is a huge challenge. And I think that a lot of businesses are probably feeling that pressure right now. So, where does MXDR fit into this picture?
MXDR, or Managed Extended Detection and Response, is designed to address exactly that problem. It provides advanced threat detection, rapid response, and proactive monitoring across your entire IT ecosystem. Unlike traditional security solutions that only focus on endpoints, like antivirus or EDR, endpoint detection and response, MXDR takes a broader, more comprehensive approach.
Okay, but what does the extended actually mean in MXDR? Can you talk a little bit about how it's different from standard EDR solutions?
Well, yeah, traditional EDR solutions only monitor individual devices like laptops or servers. That's a problem because many modern cyber attacks don't start on an endpoint. If an attacker logs into a Microsoft 365 account using stolen credentials, EDR won't even see that as a threat because there's no malware or file scan. That's where MXDR changes the game. Instead of focusing on just one piece of the attack, MXDR connects the dots between cloud applications, user behavior, and network activity to detect the breach before real damage is done. For example, if a user account is suddenly accessed from another country, MXDR flags the login, tracks their activity inside the system, and looks for signs of lateral movement, like accessing sensitive files or creating new accounts. If something suspicious is happening, MXDR triggers an alert to security staff, allowing them to block access before the attacker can escalate their attack.
Okay, yeah. So it's not just looking at isolated incidents, but actually correlating multiple security signals to spot sophisticated threats, then?
Exactly. That's the power of extended detection. It prevents security blind spots that attackers often exploit. Instead of just responding to an attack after it's already in progress, MXDR proactively identifies and allows IT to shut those threats down before they can spread.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense then, because cyber attacks today aren't just about viruses anymore. They're about things like identity theft, compromised credentials, and lateral movement.
Right. And that's why businesses can't rely on endpoint only solutions anymore. They need something that monitors the entire IT environment, devices, cloud platforms, user accounts, networks, all in real time.
There are a lot of cybersecurity solutions out there that claim to detect and respond to threats, but let's talk about what makes Next Perimeter's MXDR different.
Well, one of the biggest differentiators is a converged approach to security. Instead of focusing on just one piece, like endpoint protection or network monitoring, we've unified SIEM, MDR, and SASE into one platform.
So that means that businesses don't have to juggle multiple security tools then, right?
Right. Traditionally, businesses would have separate tools for SIEM, MDR, network monitoring, and identity protection. Next Perimeter's MXDR consolidates all of that into a single solution, making security simpler, more effective, and easier to manage. And one of the key advantages, You get the best of both worlds, agent-based security for endpoints and agentless SIEM for cloud environments.
Agentless SIEM. Okay, so how does that help businesses?
Great question. Unlike traditional SIEM that requires businesses to deploy servers to ingest log data, agentless SIEM allows us to pull security logs directly from the cloud services, like Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, without the need for extra infrastructure. And that means no additional servers to manage, no extra agents slowing down performance, and faster onboarding and real-time visibility into cloud security events. So whether a business has employees working on premises or fully remote, MXDR seamlessly collects, analyzes, and correlates security data across all environments without adding complexity.
That is a huge benefit. So instead of businesses having to build out their own security infrastructure themselves, MXDR gives them the full protection without the headaches.
Exactly. With a single agent for endpoint security and agentless SIEM for cloud environments, businesses get comprehensive protection without the heavy lifting.
Okay, so we have to talk about it. But what about AI? I know many cybersecurity solutions are starting to use artificial intelligence, but some businesses are still kind of skeptical about it.
Yeah, I knew this would come up. It's understandable. AI is often overhyped, and businesses worry that it's just another buzzword. But in cybersecurity, AI has a very real, practical role, especially for small IT teams that are overwhelmed by security alerts. Most businesses receive hundreds of security alerts every single day. Up to 90% of them are false alarms. That means IT teams, they waste hours sifting through logs, investigating notifications that don't actually matter, while real threats slip right through the cracks. That's where AI makes a difference. First, it cuts through the noise. Most IT teams drown in security alerts, so many that real threats can get lost in the flood. AI solves this by filtering out false alarms and spotting actual threats faster. If a process is harmless, it's dismissed instantly, no human effort required. Second, AI correlates security data across multiple platforms. Instead of treating every login attempt or file change as like an isolated event, it looks for the connections between activities, like a suspicious login followed by an unusual data transfer. Finally, it generates clear human readable reports. Instead of forcing IT teams to manually investigate every event, AI summarizes the key details, highlights potential risks, and even suggests next steps, saving valuable time.
So instead of IT teams drowning in false positives, they're actually focusing on stopping real threats before they escalate, then?
Precisely. And for businesses that don't have a dedicated security team, that's where Next Perimeter's 24/7 Security Operations Center, or SOC, comes in. Our analysts work alongside AI to review, validate, and respond to threats, so SMBs aren't left handling security all on their own.
What about onboarding? I know that's a pain point for a lot of businesses when implementing new security tools.
That's another area where we've simplified things. With our cloud native and lifecycle management approach, onboarding a new user takes just 90 seconds.
90 seconds seems almost too easy.
I know, right? But that's exactly the point. Traditional security solutions often require businesses to configure multiple systems, install many different agents on each device, and set up complex rules just to get started. We've streamlined the entire process so businesses can get up and running quickly. They don't have to build out an entire security infrastructure from scratch.
So, can we talk a little bit about how MXDR is actually handling the threats in real time as they happen?
Yes, it follows a structured process. First, there's detection. Our platform continuously monitors activity across endpoints, networks, identities, and cloud applications. Suspicious behavior, like an unauthorized login from an unfamiliar location or an unusual file download, is immediately flagged for review. By correlating security data across multiple layers, we can spot potential threats before they escalate into real breaches.
And that's huge because a lot of businesses don't realize how often early warning signs are missed. If you're only looking at endpoint security or just monitoring network traffic, for example, you might not be catching the full picture of an attack.
Spot on. That's why the next step, analysis and triage, is so important. Instead of overwhelming IT teams with a flood of alerts, our SOC analysts focus on identifying high priority threats first. By reducing false positives and eliminating unnecessary noise, we ensure that the most critical incidents receive immediate attention, allowing for faster decision making.
Yeah, and that's such a big deal because I've heard that many IT teams struggle with alert fatigue because they get bombarded with security notifications that might not even be real threats.
Indeed. Once a threat is confirmed, the response phase kicks in. This is where security, orchestration, automation, and response, SOAR, plays a key role. If an endpoint is compromised, we can automatically isolate it from the network. If an identity is breached, we can revoke access, force a password reset, or require multi-factor authentication before further damage can be done. By leveraging SOAR automation, Next Perimeter can contain threats real time without requiring manual intervention, ensuring faster response.
The automation piece is key because cyber attacks happen so fast. I imagine being able to cut off access instantly can prevent a minor issue from turning into a full scale breach.
That's exactly right. And that leads to the final step, post incident reporting. After containing a threat, we provide businesses with detailed documentation outlining what happened, how it was handled, and most importantly, how to prevent it from happening again.
Okay, so Michael, let's talk about business impact now. What are the biggest benefits that SMBs usually get from MXDR?
The biggest benefit is risk reduction by correlating data across the entire IT ecosystem. We stop threats before they cause real damage. But equally important is flexibility. Some businesses prefer a fully managed security approach where we handle everything. Others want a co-managed model where their internal IT team works alongside our SOC. Next Perimeter can accommodate both, and either way, they get round-the-clock protection.
That's great. And we should mention that on our website, we have a downloadable resource titled MXDR Essentials Simplified Security for Modern Businesses, if our audience would like to check that out. But let's bring this whole idea to life for our listeners. Can you share a real world example of how an SMB used MXDR to strengthen their security, specifically in a hybrid environment?
Of course. Imagine this. Monday morning, a regional healthcare provider, 150 employees, multiple clinics. Their IT manager, sipping a coffee, begins the morning routine, checking overnight logs, expecting a normal day, but something doesn't look right. An employee's account was accessed at 2 a.m. from a country where they don't even operate. No malware, no security alert, just an unauthorized user quietly moving through their systems. The employees whose credentials were used verified they weren't online at the time. No malware was detected, no security tool flagged it. What's worse? The attacker had been inside the system for days, quietly moving through files, searching for sensitive patient records, testing which accounts had admin access. At this moment, the IT team has two choices: scramble to react, trying to trace the attacker's steps, revoke access, and hope they contain the breach before patient data is stolen. Or, if they had MXDR, the attack wouldn't have gotten this far.
Oh, no. So what happens next then?
After scrambling to contain the attack and realizing their current security tools weren't enough, they made a decision. It was time for a change. They implemented MXDR, and almost immediately the difference was clear. Instead of relying on separate security tools that didn't communicate, MXDR unified their network, endpoint, and cloud security, giving them full visibility to their environment. Instead of waiting for something to go wrong, MXDR proactively monitored for early warning signs, flagging suspicious login attempts, unusual file access, and credential misuse before it escalated. Instead of manually investigating every security alert, their IT team now had AI-driven automation that filtered out false positives, prioritized real threats, and provided clear, actionable insights. And instead of scrambling again to contain an attack after the fact, MXDR's automated response immediately cut off access, forced a password reset, and blocked unauthorized activity before it could cause any damage. And the impact? Within the first few months, they saw a 70% improvement in security response time and reduced their third-party security tool costs by 40%.
Wow, Michael, that's really incredible. So, not only did MXDR prevent a serious data breach, but it actually simplified their security operations and saved them money too.
Absolutely. They went from playing defense, always reacting to threats, to having a proactive, intelligent security strategy. And that's the kind of transformation MXDR brings to SMBs.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Perimeter Perspective. If you found this useful and want to keep up with the latest in cybersecurity and IT, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
For more resources, insights, and to grab your free guide, MXDR Essentials, Simplified Security for Modern Businesses, head over to nextperimeter.com. Have a question or topic you'd like us to cover? We'd love to hear from you. Reach out on social media or email us at perspective@nextperimeter.com.
Until next time, stay secure, stay informed, and remember, the perimeter isn't just a boundary, it's your foundation for growth.
See you soon.